jam to get the day going. What's going on? Welcome back to Defender of the Riff. I'm Daniel DK, and today I am joined by my bona fide dude and also my dog, Grant Truesdell from Unleash the Archers. How you doing, man? Hell yeah!
I mean, we've got these guitars. I want to use them as much as I can. Sometimes we'll just speak in riffs, I feel, today.
Yeah, dude, riffs are the universal language for us guitar players, you know?
Hell yeah.
Some guys are shy as hell. You can't get them to say two things, and then you put a guitar in their hand and they can tell you a whole story.
Damn right. It's good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Well, thankfully you don't have any trouble playing guitar or talking, so it's gonna be a great hang today. Yeah, welcome back, I should say, to Defender the Riff for you, because you were one of the first people I did this show concept with when it was an online thing during the lame-ass pandemic there, when I was doing this on Twitch. You were one of the first dudes I had on. I think I had you on multiple times, actually.
Was I the first?
Were you number one?
I think I was the first.
Okay,
I don't want to start claiming things that aren't true, but I feel like I might have been.
Well, now you get to experience Defender the Riff fully realized in a studio setting.
Dude.
With our rigs, our guitars, we got lights, we got cameras, we got mics. It's all happening, baby.
We got iced coffees.
We got iced coffees. Dude, America runs on Dunkin'.
We can fucking fist pump and I can feel you.
Yeah, no more screens, so this is it.
I mean, it was a saving grace having that outlet during the pandemic, Twitch, and I don't think we would have been as close as we are now because of that, and with so many other musicians as well. But it's so much better playing music in real life, with real people, real amps.
This is the way it should be. I mean, it was rad texting you being like, hey, are you on at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time tonight? But I'd much rather be like, hey, what time is load in? I'll come meet you around back. We'll smoke a joint at the venue. It's way cooler that way. So yeah, man, you know the drill. This is kind of the guitar hang interview show where we skip all the bullshit and just kind of talk about the stuff that matters. Our connection to the instrument and our dedication to the craft and why we do it overall, and kind of just get to know each other as players instead of asking you all the same boring shit that you've been asked, I'm sure, 50 times on this tour cycle so far.
Yeah, a tour cycle, yeah. This is day one of this tour, but...
Yeah. Album cycle, I should say, rather.
True.
Because you are out. It's the first night of a new tour. You're hanging with the Powerwolf guys for the next 2 weeks, doing U.S. shows. Night one here in Hollywood at the Palladium. You're out supporting your new record, which has been out since May. And stoked to have you here. So let's just jump on into the cool shit, the shit that matters. Let's talk about you getting into music. The first kind of guitar-oriented sounds that you remember hearing, the first stuff that hooked you.
Yeah, I mean, I never got put into music as a kid. I was kind of filled up with sports and stuff, so I kind of had to find my own way into it. And, public school had a bit of part to play in that with, I started playing in concert band and things like that. And my dad, he'd listen to like Pink Floyd and like Sublime and things like that, and classic rock. And he played when he was a kid, but he never played when I was like growing up. So this is something that I just kind of like started to gravitate towards. I was like in concert band playing the trombone, but just always like hanging out in the band room in like grade 7, and like, because I didn't want to play trombone. I was like playing on the drums, and they didn't have a guitar there. They were playing a bass. So soon after that, I picked up a bass just so I could have something to play. I bought one off of my buddy and realized that, it wasn't really for me. I kind of was like, it was like the new metal era, Linkin Park and Korn and Limp Bizkit. Those things that were like on the radio, being played on like much more music.
That's MTV for Canada, by the way, folks.
Yeah, Channel 45 and Channel 70, I think. But so it was kind of like a slow progression. I didn't have like one person who was like, dude, like listen to this album, and it like blew me away. I kind of slowly got into it with like punk, pop punk, things like that. Like one of the first songs I think learned was like "Damn It" by Blink-182, Right?
Yeah.
Things like that, pop punk, and then just slowly started to, get into heavier stuff. The real catalyst was seeing Iron Maiden on TV, on Much More Music, the Rock in Rio concert.
Oh, so good.
Was playing, and I was like, holy crap, like, what is this?
Scream for me, Brazil!
Yeah. And it was like, obviously that concert is like the highlights of every shot. Yannick Years is like throwing his guitar up, or Eddie's walking out, or they're like dueling guitars, and I was like, holy crap, like what is this? So that kind of really opened the door to metal. And then obviously got into the classic bands, Metallica, Priest, Megadeth, all that kind of stuff. And then, it just kind of continued from there and started to snowball. And, I was, kids don't follow this advice, but I was like sneaking out every night with just like an acoustic guitar. And like me and my buddy, we weren't doing anything bad. We were just playing guitar. We'd go to Tim Hortons and they'd throw out their old donuts.
That's Dunkin' Donuts in Canada, by the way.
So we would like go to the dumpster, get the fresh bag of donuts, and just sit and smoke cigarettes and eat donuts and play guitar all night out on the streets till like 5 a.m. And then I would like sneak back in my room and I would go to school or go to hockey that morning. And then I kind of had to like make a choice when I was like 12. I was like, okay, do I still pursue hockey or do I want to like be a musician? I want to play guitar. I ended up quitting hockey and going like full board music.
Were your parents kind of in support of letting you pick your own path with it, or was your dad like, my son's going to be in the NHL, there's no fucking way you're quitting hockey to play guitar?
They were like shocked because of all the investment that goes into hockey. You know, it's not like a cheap sport, and I was a goalie, so it's not even
it's the
not
most
cheap at
expensive
all.
one.
Right, and
It's
like
the drummer of sports.
Yeah, I was doing like goalie camps every summer, and I was like, that was my biggest goal and dream was to be in the NHL until I started playing music. Mm-hmm. And no, but they were supportive. They're like, whatever you want to do type thing. Like, I had really supportive parents in that sense. Like,
that's awesome.
In that sense, right, they always supported me. We did clash later on, in my teenage years.
Naturally.
Yeah, and I ended up having to like move out at like 16, and it was like, well, you're gonna try to ground me? I'm just gonna leave.
I'm ungroundable.
Yeah. You can't ground me. What? This street signs tell me not to walk? We're walking.
just a fucking rebel since day one here. So is it fair to say that like your parents' music never really even had like any influence on you, like that classic rock stuff that your dad was listening to? Was that ever of interest, or were you like straight up just discovering pop punk through the radio, kind of denying nu metal and figuring out Blink-182 on your own?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I enjoy like Sublime. I still do like Sublime. And
do you practice Santeria?
I have a crystal ball.
I wish I did have $1 million.
And that song is great too for just being able to jam in like E major.
Sure.
Right. But it was a self-discovery thing. And I think back, actually, my first real musical experience was like in elementary school when we were all learning ukuleles and recorders. Dude, I played in front of the class every lunch hour with a ukulele. Grade 4, I had no idea what I was doing. But I had like an empire. Literally, people would like throw up pencil crayons as like payment. And it got to the point where I would like pay other kids to be security guards.
Whoa!
In pencil crayons, because other guys would come up and try to steal them, and it was this big thing. Some chick got hit in the eye with a pencil crayon, and the teacher had to like shut it down.
Shut down your illegal underground ukulele circle.
Dude, wow. I kind of like forgot about that until like I started to like uncover some memories. I was like, oh yeah, that happened. What the hell was that about? Like, and then didn't pick up guitar for like years later after that. So I wish I like got put in piano as like a kid and grew up fully immersed in that. But I've been very kind of just self-taught, just playing with other musicians. When I was 12, I got put in like a program called Weekend Warriors.
Okay.
And that's where I met Andy, who I still play guitar with today. And it was like they put you into a group just as like a single person. They'd put you in a band. You'd work with like an instructor to get some covers down and try to write a song, and then they would put on a show for you. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Rock band.
Dude, exactly. And like I teach now at a place very similar to that as well. It's just it was a really, really pivotal moment where I kind of like I saw Andrew Hughes like in one of the other bands. I was like, man, that guy's a ripping guitarist. Like I want to play with him. And so from 12, I was always like playing with other musicians. Never really took any lessons growing up. Just I would have like tabs just like strewn out everywhere in my room. I'd be like following a song. I'd be like walking along.
The era where we
just listening to stuff.
Yeah, like the era where we'd print everything from the internet, from MapQuest directions to guitar tabs.
Fuck that.
I remember I had like a guitar binder full of like just like 45 different songs printed out, and it's such a waste of paper. It's hilarious. So, you know, you're discovering music, kind of have some run-ins and tastes with, you know, concert band and ukulele, illegal underground pencil crayon gambling circle. But when is the, like, you know, the formative, like you said, you dropped hockey. What's the first guitar you get? And, you know, when do you really like settle in on like, this is a real thing, and what do you do with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if there was like a pivotal moment per se. It was like a slow progression.
Okay.
We had like, it was like 3 of us guitarists, and we were like Maiden worship, priest,
Is it kids
all
from
that
your
kind
class?
of stuff. No, I don't know how we all met, to be honest. Andy and I met in that Week in Warriors, and we had some other guy named Matt Whitehead. We just called him Whitey. Okay. And yeah, man, like we were playing, like we had a really good all ages scene in Courtenay where I grew up. So like I saw 3 Inches of Blood at a youth center there. Like it was one of my first shows, and I was like 12. And we were opening up all these youth center shows at like 12. We couldn't get into bars. We'd have to like hang out in the kitchen and then play. And we were just like known as like these young like shredders.
That's awesome.
The real pivotal moment was what that Rock in Rio.
Maiden.
Maiden, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. And so that's when I started to like seek out other bands. And like, you know, it's like, and I got into like melodic death metal, you know, not that Cannibal Corpse is melodic death, but they're like one of the first like heavier bands I heard. Sure. And it was actually through their No Remorse cover.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's like in B, it's like heavy. And like that other riff is just so heavy. That's it right there. Yeah, dude, it was like so heavy. Like, oh man, this is sick. And then, you know, got into Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
And like Colma, and then you know the real, I guess the other real pivotal moment was discovering like power metal, and like really the Brazilian power metal is what I gravitated towards, like Hibria.
I was gonna say Hibria. I know you love Hibria.
Was one of the first bands, and like their debut album, Defying the Rules.
So good.
Is like, because I'm not a fan of like all power metal, because I'm like, you know, I grew up more punk and then got into metal as like my guitar abilities got better, and I was like, oh, I want to play more than just power chords. Right, and that's what kind of gravitated me towards metal, and power metal specifically because it's so virtuosic. And but I like still like thrashy.
Virtuosic. There you go. That's a word. Let's go.
Making it up as we go. But like I like the thrashier power metal. You know, like the opening riff to Defying the Rules. Right, it's kind of like very Racer X.
Yeah.
A homage, which is like another big influence earlier on. We were talking about it
Paul
earlier,
Gilbert, baby.
You know, yeah, like Paul Gilbert and all his instructional videos. Michelangelo as well. Like those two pretty much solidified everything guitar-wise for me, as well as a little bit of Dimebag and Kiko from Angra.
We were jamming some Glam Terra before the set. That's another like perfect example. Like that riff, even that song. It's like power metal influence and glam metal influence, but super thrashy. You know what riff I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I always grab. The riffy, fast double bass, and the soaring vocals, like, you know, maybe have gotten me a few speeding tickets in the past, right? But it's like, you know, whether I'm working out or wanting to drive fast or just want to like get energized, that's like my heart and soul.
That's awesome.
But I still, you know, it was kind of, so growing up, it was like a mix of that thrashy power metal and like melodic death with like Carcass and Death. You know, those were the two main bands that I was like really into in my childhood years. Like.
Fucking love that shit.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of where my love of like harsh vocals and where I started to develop that part of my vocality. Yeah, that's a word too, right? Yeah.
Vocality?
Virtuosic vocality.
Virtuosic vocality.
Dude, I mean, Chuck's has got some of the best riffs. We're talking about Defender of the Riff. Like,
yeah.
You got some of the, you know, favorite riffs. Some of my favorite riffs are in Spirit Crusher. My favorite one, I think, is
that whole record, man. But yeah, Chuck, as a writer in general, that is a true defender of the riff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well said.
No doubt.
We're gonna get fucking sidetracked into death. I see we both know a lot of death riffs, so that we could probably just start we should probably just hit up Gene Hoglan and ask him if we can join Death to All, right? Well, you're talking other heavy riffs. You're talking getting into, you know, Death and
Carcass, you know?
Dude, Bill Steer, Riff God.
Yeah.
So
that
good.
whole album, Heartwork.
Michael Amott on guitar on that one too.
Yeah. I love the dual. I love the melodicness of them. You know, I was, you know, never really. Like I liked virtuosic playing, but not to the point where that's like all that matters.
Right.
Right. And I found Bill Steer and Michael Amott, their soloing and melodic phrasing was just so good. Same with Adrian Smith and Dave Murray. Really liked these like twin guitar duos. Right. I never really set out to be like just a solo guitarist, to be known for that. I like working in a unit. I like working in teams, right? I feel I'm better as a kind of like a support role in that sense.
Interesting.
And you know, the power combined is better than one alone type thing. So
it's interesting you say that, because when I think of you and you know, your personality, and I'd like to think that I know you pretty well, I think of you as a leader. I really do see you as someone who works very well independently. You know, not to say you can't play on a team, but I do see you as someone who can work very well independently and like a project leader almost, a team leader. So it's interesting to hear you say that you like almost prefer to work in a unit like that, because I really do see you as like a trendsetter and not afraid of taking risks and kind of putting yourself out there and doing things on your own.
Oh, thank you, dude.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, you know, I think any good leader should be kind of in the trenches as well, and kind of is, you know, not afraid to get their hands dirty, and you know, so if I did have to be classified as that, I would want to be known as someone who's not leading from the back, but leading from the front, you know?
Good answer.
It's like, so having somebody fucking front line, fucking sword and shield, like, I'm not sitting in the back letting command people to go. I'm like, let's fucking go. I'm dying with you.
Yeah, you're not just cracking the whip, eating fucking grapes. Like you're out there getting your hands dirty. I love that. All right, so we kind of got a good basis on where you're at musically as a teenager and the bands you're getting into. It's really, if I may say so myself, a very good trajectory you're on with the kind of shit you're getting into. It's very similar to the stuff I was into. What about like putting a band together? You've got Andy and your other you've got Andy and Whitey, who you're jamming with. What are you guys doing? Are you like covers? When do you start writing? When do you start putting together the basement or the garage band? Take me into that next step.
Yeah, first, like any young teenager band, I think we started with covers.
Yeah.
You know, we were playing, you know, like The Trooper and, you know, Painkiller. And, you know, we were doing some like Nirvana as well, really, really early on. And we originally were jamming at Andy's dad's house, just in the basement. And then his dad ended up building us like a studio in the garage that we hung out and, you know, partied and were degenerates through our teenage years and just jammed and had a lot of fun. And we were playing, I think one of the first like big gigs we got was this music festival in Courtenay. It's like a folk fest. And we were like the only metal band playing it because we won some Battle of the Bands thing. So we're like playing at 11 a.m. in the barn at this folk festival. And obviously none of us slept the night before because we're teenagers. We're
raging
gung-ho. Yeah. My mom comes in the morning. She's like, "Are you okay? Like, what are you on?" I'm like, "Nothing, I'm fine." And so, yeah, this was early on. We're still like 14, 15 at this point. And then we ended up moving to Victoria to play with the drummer when we were like 17. Andy and I both quit high school and we're like, this is what we want to do. Like, there's no point wasting time doing anything else. We both moved to Victoria, like 16, 17, to play with a drummer there, Jay Brown, who was playing drums in Alcoholic White Trash. And unfortunately, he got cancer shortly after we moved there, and he passed away. But then we were still in Victoria, and we kind of continued the band there and kind of rebuilt it. And yeah, we went on our first tour, like self-booked through MySpace and reaching out to just random people through the Okanagan. And we did our first tour when we were like 17 or 18. Like, I don't think we were old enough to be in bars. And yeah, it was our old band, Archon Legion, Andy and I's band. And then we did that kind of same cycle a few times across Canada. I think we were actually playing in Thunder Bay the same night Diamonds were.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, I was with a different band.
How did we not just play the same show?
I don't know.
How are we doing competing shows in Thunder Bay?
I know. I mean, the place already is going to be abysmal for a show.
Oh,
and
Lord.
Then you have two of them.
If anyone watching has no idea what Thunder Bay is, just Google it. Just Google some stats on Thunder Bay, Ontario.
So it was a very kind of like DIY. We just kind of had this plan we always wanted to play in a band and tour, right? And we just kind of took reins of our own hands early on, just booked our own shows, and we were kind of playing up Vancouver Island, all over the place as much as possible, and writing a little bit throughout that. We ended up recording our first album in like 2007, I think, and you know, at that time we were just excited to record anything,
right? And
not realizing how crappy it actually was. We recorded it all live off the floor. It was like you know, very kind of punk producer.
There's a charm to it, though.
Yeah. No click, live off the floor.
Yeah.
Few overdubs, and so just by the skin of our teeth, right? Just quitting jobs, going out on the road, living in whoever's house. Like, it was very, I don't know, very homeless, you could say. You know, I felt like I was like a glorified bum. I kind of still am, but yeah, we got a few less holes in my pants now.
Just a couple, though. Still rocking a couple holes so that we're true where we came from. You know, gotta be true to ourselves.
It's just so hot here. I had to.
So, you know, you've got a kind of a wealth of experience in DIY touring and DIY putting records together from a teenage. Like, you were doing it since you were a teenager. You know, you're
since grade 4, that ukulele.
Yeah,
man. Like
that's your first DIY show.
That was, dude. I had so many pencil crayons. I didn't even know what to do with them. Like,
you're like the
nobody else
promoter.
had any left.
You're the shady promoter at the end of the night with the big till of cash. Like, do I pay any of these bands?
Yeah, exactly.
What do I do with all these pencil crayons?
Yeah, it was wild, and Yeah, man, the DIY. I think a lot of people are always like kind of just waiting for things to happen. They're like, oh, I hope the opportunity knocks on my door, finally. And it's like, no, that's not going to happen. You got to like go out and make it work. I think all these people in these bands are like, oh, we're just going to play locally and hopefully somebody picks us up.
Right.
And it's like, no, fucking get out there in a crappy van that's going to break down after the third show, and you got to fix it on the side of the road. That's where the character gets built.
It's true. It's true.
And it's like if you ask me if I could skip all that and just go to like where we are now, I wouldn't want that for the world, because all the fun and all the friendships that get built from doing that is really what lasts a lifetime.
It's true, man.
But it was essentially like just glorified camping. Like I grew up camping all the time. I loved camping. It was like you go on the road, you're pissing in a bucket and eating out of tuna cans, and it was like, hey, this is fucking awesome. And we get to play a show tonight? Sweet!
Awesome! Yeah, I always kind of looked at touring as like a cross between camping and being a pirate, roaming around city to city.
Looking for rum?
Yeah, looking for rum and maybe some women along the way, and whatever you can get your hands on, whatever you can, whatever booty you can collect and bring on to the next city. A couple fights, you never know, right?
Yeah, it's true.
It's very much like being a pirate and camping on the road.
Remember we played Prince George early on, and it was like Tuesday, Monday afternoon, get to the venue, I'm like, I'm gonna go get a coffee. I saw like 3 fights that day on the way to go get coffee. I was like, this is a rough town. Holy shit, I should have brought backup.
Yeah, it's...
I think someone got stabbed at that show that night, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like a fucking party, man.
Yeah. You played in Prince George?
I've never played in Prince George.
Oh, you gotta.
Yeah? I mean, you're really selling it, man. I think the craziest one I ever did, dangerous party-wise, was played in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Oh, nice.
And but I recall we had been there for like 15 minutes, and I had been offered hard drugs 3 times already. I just went to go catch you, take a piss. There were like 3 guys really eager to offer me hard drugs, and I was like, no, I think I'm good, or maybe, no, we're good.
You're weighing my options out here.
Let me see. Let me get a lay of the land first. Maybe load in my gear. One of the craziest nights of my life.
Sounds amazing.
So let's just do a tour, just you and I. We should just do a tour of just Prince George and Moncton over and over again. Sounds like might be our kind of party.
Yeah. See how long we can actually survive.
Yes.
Like physically.
I think the interesting thing, about this, where we're at kind of in your journey, is that you're not playing in Unleash the Archers yet, but surely you are fully aware of the band's existence. They're from the same region, and contrary to a lot of people's belief of them being like a newer band and just having like their breakthrough record, your breakthrough record was like fucking 2 records ago. Now I'm pulling up and picking you up at venues when you're driving in a full-size bus, not too shabby. Come a long way. The band's been around since before the 2010s. The band has been grinding. It's like 13 years plus kind of thing.
Yep.
You were definitely aware of the band before you played in the band. Did you have any, aside from being homies with Andy, do you have like any interactions, play shows with them, and that kind of stuff?
We actually toured together.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is what I want to hear about.
Andy and I's band, Archon Legion. Like I said, we were doing these like kind of BC tours, BC, Alberta, Vancouver Island, and I was starting to build up some pretty good contacts in all these small towns. So UTA, Unleash the Archers, actually opened up for us on one of these tours.
It's awesome.
And that's when we all started to become really good friends. And I'd already like seen them live in Victoria, and was like, man, like not usually a fan of like female vocals in metal, but this has got some balls to it.
Definitely some cojones.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is sick. So I always liked them as an outsider as well. And the main thing that we always fought against, Andy and I, is like we could never find a singer. So we kind of had to do it ourselves. And it worked, but it was never like optimal. It's not like what we wanted. So fast forward a little bit after that tour, both bands, UTA, Archon, were kind of doing our thing. We broke up. Actually, hot take, I was kicked out of the band. And then because of that, they fizzled.
So yeah, let's get the story straight. They didn't just break up. They got rid of you, and then they just imploded.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's at the time it was like one of the worst things I thought that could happen. You know, because like my whole life had been driven to, you know, make it successful as a musician, follow down this career path, and you know I've been kind of doing this. We've moved to Victoria, we've been touring, and then now it's like, oh, now my band's gone. Like, crap. Like, so I kind of had like a bit of a soul searching moment. Then I was like, man, do I? And like now looking back, I was still so infant in my career. It's like, oh, I put all this time in. Like, is it wasted now? It's like it was so early in retrospect. But without that, I wouldn't have joined UTA,
right?
Which then I wouldn't have brought Andy over, and we wouldn't have been kind of doing what we did now. So, in retrospect, so one of the worst things I thought that happened was one of the best things.
There you go.
It made me open for business in a sense. So
it was one of the best things for UTA as well, because I mean, you know, the band had been around and doing their own thing for a very long time, but you bringing over yourself and Andy was a game changer.
Yeah.
I know Andy goes on to become like the principal songwriter and kind of producer engineer of the band, like the man with the musical vision.
Yeah.
You know, you go on to be the face, the handsome face of the band. Everybody loves Grant. When everyone talks about UTA, they talk about you. Everyone loves you. I think that, you know, that was a big game changer, you know, for the band commercially and for the band musically. You know, they'd been doing it for years, and then you joined the picture and things really started. You were cooking with fucking gas all of a sudden.
Yeah, because we had some old songs from Archon that we ended up bringing in that we never saw to fruition, and you know, I think Andy and I brought like that kind of more classic metal songwriting, right, where the previous guitarists were very like metalcore and like death metal, melodic death, kind of more modern stuff, but we were like grew up with Maiden and stuff like that, so we had a very classical kind of touch to our guitar playing and this kind of twin dueling lead stuff that really kind of changed the sound in a way for UTA. So yeah, we joined UTA because UTA, we all grew up and formed in Victoria. Then UTA moved to Vancouver as a band in like 2009, 2010. And then, yeah, we ended up both moving over there, and we all lived in a house together and did my first tour with UTA for their second album, which I wasn't on. I threw down some solos, but that was about it. And yeah, back then, you know, early 2010, for like the next 4 or 5 years, we were just doing cross Canada tours in a van down by the river. You know?
In a van down by the river.
Grinding.
Yeah, just grinding, just doing tours every summer, and we would just quit our jobs and save up enough money to not be evicted when we got home. And we did that, and then we just slowly kind of, the pulse just kept on getting bigger and bigger, and we did, you know, US, Mexico, Japan, Europe, and then just kind of continued to blow out.
Now look at you. You just got back from an Australian tour earlier this year. Like you're literally, we international, baby.
Yeah.
Can you give me like sort of an example playing wise of like what could have been like a sort of a game changing riff that like you and Andy would have brought to the table, something that, you know, kind of took where UTA was at to more of the musical direction that you're at now?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, here comes the drop D guitar.
Yeah, because we joined, and the first 2 albums were already written in drop D. So we obviously had to learn all the old songs, and we just continued writing music in drop D until our 2020 album, where we switched to 7 strings. So, I mean, yeah, the first thing I wrote for UTA, I think, was a song called Dream Crusher. And
not to be confused with Soul Crusher.
No, I used to always call it Dream Catcher when we were writing in British. Like, oh, it's Dream Crusher, because it's about the music industry just trying to crush your dreams.
Right.
You know, it's like you're trying to do all these great things and it's just not working out like you had hoped. Like anybody trying to do anything that's not a secure career path, you know, music, anything professional like that, athletes. Nothing's guaranteed, right? It's about your dreams being crushed. But yeah, I mean, there's a few riffs in that I really liked. And this one was kind of inspired by like a band called Kalma.
Oh, swamp metal.
Yeah, swamp metal. And like Carcass and things like that. And this song, it's like an 8-minute long song, right? So it kind of goes through a bunch of different changes. Starts out really slow, right? Just like in D minor, right? And I ended up writing or starting this song by playing an Angra riff, right? It was right. It's just like a verse riff that I was just playing on the acoustic one time, just kind of it turned into like this big kind of Maiden epic clean part, but it has like this kind of punky chorus, right? Kind of like Bad Religion almost.
Awesome.
Right, and then the swamp metal riff, which I didn't even really get to, but
Sweet.
So I mean that was one of the first songs I brought to UTA.
Yeah.
And this is actually before Andy joined. Like we were in the middle of writing the third album. And the main songwriter, Braden, he wasn't like writing anything. So I was like just kind of starting to take the reins.
You're like, new guy. I'm like, hey, I got this.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. And, so, which is weird because he usually wrote lots. Like
right.
he was an endless flow of ideas usually. But you could tell he was kind of not feeling it anymore, right? And he showed up one jam in like a suit and his hair was cut and we're like, and we're like all setting up, and he's like just standing there, and we're like, all right, something's going on here.
Yeah, this doesn't look good.
And he let us all know that he was gonna stop playing in the band. So
pursue a new career as a lawyer.
Real estate.
Yeah,
actually,
there you
go. And so yeah, I had like 3 songs written for that album before Andy came over, and then when he came over, we started to collaborate. He had a few songs from Archon Legion that we played. One of them, well, it's going to be a really hard one to play. It's one of the hardest songs on the album, but it's the opening track. It's a mix of 2 of us. Like I wrote the intro verse up until the bridge, and then it was his chorus riff that came in, and then his solo section, right? So it's kind of an amalgamation. And yeah, it's Frozen Steel, right?
Dude, that's fucking sick.
And you can hear the influence of like,
I was about to say that's a Pantera riff.
Yeah. So
that's awesome, dude.
And then just like right, just kind of like thrashy, we knew we always had like soaring vocals with Brittany's vocals in there.
Right.
And then we just kind of brought the riffage into it. One of the other first songs that I brought in was Tonight We Ride,
Good
which
song.
is a song that we play live still to this day.
I was going to say probably every night.
Yeah. So that one, you know, this was like, we were still like in our infant songwriting phase, I feel like. Like back then we were just like trying to like impress people and write, you know, coming out of the gate with this shred, you know. Right, just like out of the gate playing that.
Yeah.
And now it's like we write songs for more purpose, right? We don't feel like we need to show off anymore, and we let those moments come in naturally instead of like, oh yeah, let's just start with like this big solo and then like go to this big wail and then like never let up, you know? So
no, I've noticed like and that's why I asked kind of about, you know, what riffs were sort of like the musical game changers, because the band has gone through such a musical shift where like now the records are so much more like focused on concepts, like the conceptual like journey, like the storytelling of the whole album as a whole, like treating it as like a real piece of standalone art, as opposed to like, how many fucking leads and dual harmonies can we fit into this one? All right, Brett, you're gonna be like, ah, like, you know, like, dude, more. It's like, it's way less of that and more about like serving the purpose of, you know, delivering an emotion or delivering a point or, you know, getting a story across, and kind of the continuity through an album. Kind of, it's less about the wank in the moment and more like you could listen there. Like your last record's a fucking hour. I sat and listened to it and I'm like, whoa. Like I can reflect back upon that as an hour-long piece of music, not just like individual parts.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Very much a fan of writing like albums.
Yes.
Not much of a fan of like writing a single or a song,
right?
Because every riff, every note, every melody has like a part in the bigger story.
That's
right.
it.
So it's less one night stand. It's more like going on a lifelong commitment here.
Hey, I love the analogy. That's rad. I just want to kind of open up the floor to you to tell me a little bit about your involvement in musical activities outside of playing in UTA and why that's so important to you, and kind of what your philosophy on all that is.
Yeah, I think it really comes back to that Weekend Warriors gig that I got put into as a teenager, and realized the value of that, and like having a mentor and kind of like being in proximity of the right people and putting yourself in the right area to meet the right people, and realizing how big of an impact having somebody you look up to just kind of give you a little bit of guidance and things like that. So, you know, and naturally, like music aside, I've kind of always just kind of been known to be like a mediator between people, like whether it be in my family, mending relationships, or people just naturally kind of gravitate to me when they need to talk about something. And, you know, they've been able to give me feedback on like, you know, I've gone to a counselor for like 20 years and like talking to you for an hour, like has been better than 20 years of counseling type thing, right? So, you know, above all, you know, and this has come through just personal soul searching, mainly when I first started to get into like building the label, and like when you're no longer like, you know, doing the day job and it's like you have all the time to figure out what you need to do in the day. You know, you realize that the biggest hurdle to something to become successful is you know? And when you're like the only one to rely on for that, you realize that, okay, like I need to dig deeper into like, how can I be better, right? So when I started to make a priority to like work on myself, like personal development, reading books, business books, just being as kind of productive as I can, I realized how much that really affects your like day to day, you know. And like one of the biggest quotes that I always love coming back to is like, success isn't something you chase or you go out to pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become, right? And it really puts the focus on not trying to get anything or like put yourself in the right opportunity, but just becoming better so that when that opportunity comes, you're ready, right? So, yeah, I mean, it all came to when I started to do stuff for myself, like trying to start a business and do all that, and started to find other mentors online, you know, that weren't music related at all, more mindset stuff, and realizing the power that your thoughts have, like you can go through any shitty situation, but if you have a powerful mindset, that has no effect on you, right? Like I could be in the world could be going to shit, apocalypse, and like, man, I'm not dead, just something simple like that, but the power that your thoughts do really create your reality in the moment, you can give any shitty situation a positive meaning, So that's another thing is like, it's never too late to have a good childhood, because if you can give it a good meaning now, like, say somebody went through whatever abuse as a child and like, yeah, it's not a good thing objectively. But if through that you can have a passion for helping people who are going through that now, and because you had to go through that one thing, you can help thousands of people today, then it becomes a pretty powerful meaning other than like, oh, I was a victim, So yeah, just kind of getting out of that victim mentality and realizing that you control your thoughts, and because of that, you can only blame yourself for something not happening or happening. So, but yeah, and so like my biggest mission now is just to leave a legacy that will continue to do that sort of thing, right? So whether it be my music, which obviously can help people through whatever, just listen to a badass song and raise their spirits. But yeah, anything that I can leave behind that can help people just live a better quality of life. Like, as cheesy as that sounds, I think it's just like my wish for anyone, because it really doesn't matter what you have. Like you see people living on the street with nothing, and they're the happiest people in the world. And you have a billionaire with all the money in the world, and he's living in frustration day to day. Right, so it's not really what you have that determines the quality of your life. It's like, where do you live emotionally, So like, yeah, we bounce in and out all the time. Like, it's not saying I don't ever get mad or anything like that. But it's like, where do you always come back to? It's like, what do you think about when you're all alone? That'll tell you like where you're at. Like, are you thinking about getting the next pleasure, or are you thinking about? Are you going to worry? Are you thinking of all the things that could potentially happen in the future that are gonna like shit on your parade, right? Or are you thinking about your dreams? Or are you thinking about what you want to create? So that's a really good like check-in point. When you're alone, analyze where does your mind go to, and that'll tell you where you're at. So, yeah, man, it was just discovering things that helped me, and like because. Financially and things like that have not been great. So I've like had to have like this powerful psychology to still go through with it, go through following my dreams, even when things aren't happening and when things aren't going right. It's like you got to have that like exceptional psychology to kind of keep going and not give up, because nothing is guaranteed in music, especially. Right. And I think in any business, that's the ones that continue, the ones that just don't give up. Right. You have something that goes bad, you pivot, see how you can make it better. As a band, right? You just gotta, you gotta love what you do, so that when things still aren't going right, you still do it. Right.
You're absolutely right. See, I love like metalheads. We're not just bullet belts, leather vests, and keggers. There's it's deeper than that. I love, your philosophy on kind of like self-fulfillment, and how, the richest person in the world who on paper has everything could be the least fulfilled person you've ever met, and finding that bridge between self-fulfillment and like professional fulfillment, if we can kind of generalize it as that, is something that a lot of people struggle with. And the fact that you're such an accomplished, musician, and such an accomplished human being on that like psychological level is like very impressive. And I love that you offer up your time to help people like that. I mean, this is all kind of leading towards, what I want people to realize is that, this isn't just something that Grant is passionate about talking about. It's not just something that we're sitting here doing now. You offer, guides and courses and videos, like essentially like you've written a book essentially on this kind of stuff that's available on the internet, and you just want people to have access to it And for me, it seems like that you just come from a core belief that the more happy people we have in the world, the better place the world is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think there's anything wrong with people being fulfilled and happy, and I think more people should be. But it's, there's no science to it.
Right.
There's a science to achievement. You could to get a successful business, to get good at guitar, all that is like a science. You can figure out, people have done it before, but fulfillment is something that's individual, right? We all are fulfilled differently, and it's an art. There's an art of fulfillment, right? And so it's what I say is the right way is not the right way for someone else, right?
Right.
And so it's a harder thing to figure out, but I think it's something that's worthwhile pursuing for sure. And yeah, man, I think I just I'd rather have people be able to access it, and if they want to support some other way, then they will. But yeah, for me, and it's I kind of like wrestled with that at first. It was like, because sometimes when you give out things for free, people don't value it as much.
Fair.
Right? And it's like, but if you pay like $200 on something, you'll probably go to it because you've already paid $200.
Tony Robbins, man, he charges $1,000 a ticket. He's got to be the best,
Yeah. So, but I'd rather just people gain knowledge from it, because I feel like if you can. One of the things that I heard a while ago, it kind of resonates. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Ooh, that's good.
Right? So I've kind of just made that like one of my philosophies of like, you help out other people more and you'll eventually, and it's fulfilling, dude. There's like, it's fulfilling helping somebody else out, because there's like the act of helping somebody out, which you get a little shot of serotonin as well. They get serotonin. Anybody else witnessing that, they also get a shot of serotonin, right? So an act of kindness is like a domino effect, right? So, yeah.
Next thing you know, we're all high as shit on serotonin. Yeah, it's awesome. Dude, man, that's beautiful. I love that side of it. It's fun to sit here and talk about riffs and staying up all night partying and pencil crayon underground ukulele rings, but the real shit. You got a great heart, and you got a great philosophy, and I love that you use it not only to better your own life, and I'm sure the life of your bandmates and your family and your loved ones, but fucking strangers. Like anyone can reach out to you, and I know you're always willing to help, and I love that. It's like one of the things that makes you uniquely who you are, and it's why we love you, dude.
Thank you, dude. Thank you, man. I think one of the biggest questions to continue to ask is just like why. A lot of people want to know what, the how to get there. But when I started asking myself, like, why is this important to me? Like playing music, for example, like why is writing music and playing guitar important to me, right? And when you get in touch with that, then that like unlocks a whole new power of motivation and passion, right? When I did that, the answer was like that I want to inspire others. Right? It's not about becoming the best guitarist or writing or getting these awards. It's about inspiring others, getting other kids into music, inspiring others to do more with their life, to just be more creative, or So there's a lot of like messages and like epic stories in our music. I don't even have any part to play in that. Right? That's all Brit. So I just have to tell stories with my fingers, but I think it's the offstage stuff that really makes a difference, right? This day and age, especially over the pandemic, Discord and Twitch, like never been more close to our fan base than now, And
it was a time where we were like physically the furthest away we could have possibly been, but like, mentally and like spiritually, like everyone was closer than ever during that time. We had such a cool experience through that pandemic. This obviously was a terrible time for a lot of reasons, but if we can, as you're saying, to put a positive on any situation, there was certainly a positive with how close we were to, our friends, musical friends and fans and all that. It was a very unique situation for both of us.
And it's, it's such a great gift music has to do that, Right. Like we're that kind of like light in a dark time.
Yeah.
When people couldn't go out, right? We were still kind of creating a party online,
Yeah, big time.
Just jamming and
it was
having
the party. What do you do? It was the party, man.
Dude. Yeah,
bunch of drunk guys playing guitar on the internet, hanging out with 500 of their closest friends. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, Grant, I appreciate you sitting and having not only such a cool musical conversation with me, but like a deeper philosophical conversation, if you will. It's always a pleasure. I think that not only should we hang out and jam some guitars again sometime soon, we should probably smoke some weed and have some serious philosophical therapy sessions. Because I think we could make some good shit happen from both of those things.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Again, thank you so much for hanging. We'd like to end off with a little jam. How do you feel about Maiden harmonies? Yeah?
I think, yeah, we might know one of those or two, yeah.
Phantom or something?
Yeah, fuck yeah.